And we'll get to the final piece, which is like a summing up, but there's also some hints for the THI state groups before I depart tonight. And what yet again was another difficult week for me. But there's always the few that pick you up, acts of kindness, acts of support, which I receive a lot of, but also acts of generosity, and you know who you are. Naming names makes you a target, as some of you know all too well. So I want to thank those people immensely. It's never forgotten, nor is it taken for granted either. So this is like a summing up of the show, and there's a bit more added to it. There were many reactions to the final piece last week. And some of that information I've held on to for a long time, as it was disturbing in some aspects. And that's sin eating on that level takes a whole lot more of processing, while still carrying on working with Kim, doing the shows, the emails, 2 pages and a plethora of private message questions. And then we added 50 to 60 thereabouts state and country groups and more workload. And I feel I need to reiterate certain things so we can all move on and, to use Drake's term, get it done. So I'm apologising for kind of going over old ground, but it is important we grasp where we are. What are we doing here and now? And hopefully we all take it on board and then define our future. You know, as I just said, I got much support from members in various aspects, and a fair few complaints also. Some saying I don't explain things enough. Others say I explain and repeat things too often. I don't give enough time to help people and explain things to them. Others say I spend too much time helping people. Some say I haven't told people what to do or how to do it enough. Others say I do it too much. Some ask for more inner details of mine and Kim's work. Others understand this as a war and you don't give those details out. Some ask for more Zoom calls. Others will say you've already done them. Some say we need more guidelines when they were all done in April. So, from an overview, this is parenting again, where we've gone from the control system parenting to government parenting to myself, Kim and THI parenting, where we have to look after you, answer every question and deal with and fix your lifestyles, is it not? Not in all cases. And I get many requests of you will have to help me with this problem or on a plethora of topics, and yet how many consider, as I said earlier, what I have to go through or Kim on a daily basis. I love helping people, as many of you will bear testament and witness to, but there has to be some balance. Both the ebook and the THI groups, in a way, in different ways, was stated as and supposed to be easing my load, and yet far from easing it, they increased it 50-fold. And long asked private messages with 10 or more questions or 6 to 10 paragraphs of what I haven't or should have done doesn't help either. I need people to focus on this next piece, this next paragraph or two, of what Kim's role is. Kim's role is to secure the funding, do deals for the trust, work out plans to fix a plethora of global issues that are connected to the trust, in a private organisation, keyword private, known as the Manor World Holding Trust. It was never a public entity. It is a private entity and always has been. And none of you knew of it before this show. It deals with the government, agencies, families and think tank level people only. Always has. Yet despite Kim providing you all with a transparency of the group for the first time ever, people demand more proof, details and several other requests. And people say she should be doing more calls, helping them with projects, giving them ideas and plans. And the classic comment recently is she should show her face on a Zoom call. Oh dear. A staggering lack of understanding and an example of not considering other people, only the self. Well, I need answers, some cry, but you've already had them in bucket loads. What more do we want or need? And if you don't believe that as a fact, go and take part in another group and see the difference of your knowledge to theirs. In fact, I recommend it to all of our members as an exercise of how much you already have. Society has a tendency to focus on what they've lost or don't have, not what they do have. And the same applies to information. Kim is a target globally, and yet you're asking her to show her face? It's non-thinking, and part of our biggest problem on this planet. Those who asked that, and yes, it's the Australian woman again, have zero understanding. None whatsoever. But also lack a basic empathy of what Kim faces on a daily basis. Threats on her life and people around her. But let's ignore all that, shall we? Because we want or demand to see her. It's that accountability issue again. And yet these people have never demanded that from any other group. So why, despite revealing more higher level details than any other group, do people demand that of us when they don't from any other group? Do people consider Kim or I need help? Some do. Some don't. Or some people will ask the question. Yet asking the question of how can I help is in essence adding to our workload, is it not? Let me explain. By asking us how can I help, you're asking us to tell you what to do in essence. When the question is within, I have these skill sets. Now, where will my skill sets help Kim, Thomas, or the main group, or the state and country groups? Is the correct way, is it not? Like I said earlier, do people actually consider my or our workload, trying to appease thousands of people at the same time? To give you just a brief example, last Friday, I had to deal with 30 plus emails. This is all to do with the group, not my own life. 33 private messages in one day. Well over 100 questions within those messages, including some fairly lengthy questions of how I'm not doing things the right way. Yet still help Kim deal with clowns in and out of the group, helped 5 or 6 people with their private issues, sort out 4 groups all infighting, to add to the 3 in the previous 48 hours, deal with some of the last show's narrative, a Zoom call, plus a call with Alan from Circle of White Light, and also start preparing for the next show all while being unwell in one day. Now, I'm not saying that as a pity party, but that is what I face thereabouts on a daily basis. Some have suggested I need to encourage more in some aspects, and that's fine. But given the above workload, one has to ask, do people consider the other way round? The workload is heavy, and people forget sometimes that I have a life as well. Not to mention the mental pressure of being an insider, of hearing this, that and the other, sin eating, of which members only get a condensed version on the show and only hear less than a third of it. And on top of all that, there's been several extra shows recently, and yet members ask for more Zoom calls. And I'm also preparing a plan for the website currently, which got delayed because of arguing within the group. So after 4.5 months of running THI state groups, people are asking about the basics already laid out in 2 Zoom calls and several shows. And yet people in the last 2 or 3 weeks have all asked me to do another Zoom and explain it all again. Do people think that's fair? But there's an overriding feeling by myself and some members in the group. There's too few consider the impact on my life currently. And there's a basic lack of consideration is something we should all look at and ponder on at times. And like I said, the root core of it is a lack of thinking deep enough. Reacting to the headlines, the comments, the plans, the op-ed pieces, the intel, instead of taking a step back and think different. People are still questioning on the potential deal, not confirmed deal, of the 1/3 to the order, without thinking of the consequences of why that offer could be made. I wonder how many thought, oh dear, things must be really bad right now to consider that type of offer. Well, things are dire, and some people who think on a different level are trying to make the best of what is a dire situation. But it also shows flexibility, does it not? Something, again, we should all practice. What was lost in reacting to that headline of 1/3 to the order was a description in that show of what we're all facing now. It was in 2 or 3 paragraphs after that statement. Also lost was the conditions of that offer, which stated no interference with we the people or their funds will get pulled and the deal is off. You have to understand, they need funds more than we do, remember. Some people may not believe that, but their control system is damn expensive. And this is something more people have to start doing. Future thinking, consequences of doing an action or a plan, and consequences of not doing it. And then this gives the individual the bigger picture. People often want to know what's the bigger picture and the finer details, yet they would already have it with future thinking themselves. Instead of asking for the whole narrative to be relayed, then diced and sliced and then pureed for some people, start asking yourself on pondering on the consequences of any such action. Never mind one of the scope of saving the planet, which is essentially what we're doing. We just don't think enough on all levels, and that's something that humanity has an underlying problem with. And it's not just the people either. Look at the politicians. They all do reaction policies with zero thinking of the consequences. I covered one earlier. Like last week, Trump signing for a nuclear spacecraft, ignoring the fact that 1 in 15 launches ends in a catastrophic explosion. But they will just go ahead with that program until the 1 in 15 event happens. Then you get a load of sanctimonious people arguing after the event, how did this happen and why? I'll tell you why. A collective lack of thinking before it started. And the same applies to the THI groups, does it not? People at the beginning did not think it out properly, demanded more and more guidelines as the groups lacked more and more direction. Again, it's reactionary thinking, not future thinking. Take note of this, all the leaders. The gist of it was, let's discuss what we can spend the funding on. That was the general observation of the groups. And none or few considered building the foundation with which to launch something of that nature. If the money was available today, none appear to be ready to receive it. As much as I don't like that statement, it is correct. And it's something for all of us to take note of. Has any group researched of what you would need to set up the People's Club company? How many have looked into what is required to set up for a non-for-profit or an LLC? Which financial institute would you place the funds? Who is responsible for the funds? What would be needed in terms of logistics to set up things like stationery, printer or computers? Who has the skill sets to do all that in-house? Do we have a legal or tax expert to call on? I can almost guarantee none of those things have been discussed except maybe one group, because one member has been involved in it previously. That's your foundation. And that's where I'm going with this lack of thinking. People are jumping from stage 1 to stage 5, 6, 7 or 8. Well, you can't have 5, 6, 7 or 8 without implementing the first 4. You can't put a roof when you've got no walls or no foundation. So those who are looking for more guidelines or plans for your groups, I've just said it. Can anyone say the above list is all finalised, and should funding come out today, they would be organised enough to launch their TPC state or country? Now some will blame me for that, for not telling everyone. But what makes me different to you? If I can come up with those suggestions, why haven't you? I'm no more special than all of you. I don't have certificates, degrees or awards in anything, and yet I can do so much. Why? Because I think for myself based on common sense solutions. None of them are rocket science. And when I need help, I ask and bring people in. I'm not in any way business minded. In the old model, I'm far too soft and too kind-hearted to be involved in that cutthroat harvesting system. And yet I can come up with business plans. And where I'm going with this is, so can you if you just apply yourself. And this is what I've been trying to get you all to do. Be self-sufficient, learn and understand your own knowledge, come to your own decisions, be sovereign. Be you, not me. And yes, I know some of you have. This is a general observation, not a personal one. And this is why some label our group a cult, because everyone comes to me for the answers. And I answer as many as I can to help you all, but how many are thinking to and for themselves? The cult is not me. What the detractors are saying is you are the cult, relying on one person to do it for you all. Is that not the case? But those same detractors are also the problem. Their sole goal is to destroy people who wish to work together, which is exactly what the old system wanted. Their real goal is to not bring me down. That's the illusion. It is you all, which fulfills their second goal, which is dissolve or neglect their own responsibility. So they'll find the boogeyman, let's blame him or her for all the world's ills, and then focus on it 24/7. That way, they won't get asked to do or fix anything. That's essentially what they're doing. And that is the gist of our new group called THI Waste Management. 40 plus people focusing on hating or denigrating 2 people out of 7 billion. But at least they're taking the trash out from our group and putting it into theirs. All involved in that group are not interested in humanity, only negating their own responsibility to do something or anything. And that is at the core of it. Me, Kim or the cabal are not the problem, it's them. Running around and spinning wheels at the same narrative, so they don't have the time to do anything that would involve them thinking of how to improve themselves or the world. And they can rail, blog and comment all they like that they're not, but they are. Because if Kim and I walked away tomorrow, you can guarantee they will all celebrate. Yeah, we brought Kim and Thomas down. But then the old question comes up, what happens next? Will the world's problems all go away because Kim and Thomas are not here? I think most know the answer. Some never will, as they will go to any lengths to not act for themselves or others. Sleepers are called that because they lack personal responsibility also. Let's just carry on with our humdrum lives, and it's okay if 49,000 children die each day, because it's not my child. And it's okay that 1.3 billion have no electricity, because mine's on. And it's okay that half the planet live in dire poverty, because the ball game or some other banal TV programme is on. And it's okay that most of the planet is sick, because they're okay because they can afford to take vitamins. This is a comment from one of the members. Unfortunately, despite repeated attempts to educate and intervene, until someone hits literal rock bottom, will they finally decide to change. No matter where they are at in the process, we remain calm and there to help when they are ready. So the gist of it, some of the awake people, it seems, are no different to the sleepers, politicians, cabal in overview, a collection of people hating on each other, not supporting or caring for each other, and the few that do are labelled a cult, and whole websites are dedicated to it. So we have what we have now, disorganised chaos. And people ask me or Kim how to fix it, when many of these people haven't fixed themselves. This show has provided you all with the tools of how to go forward, not back. which is why we were selected to undertake the task of providing plans to kickstart humanity into a new and better way. And some find that daunting. But do people consider what I think or feel of undertaking that task? Some don't. Some ask, why are you in that position? The simple answer is because nobody else wanted it is why. Nobody even thought of doing it and then acting upon it. Nobody believed it was possible. So instead of asking why I'm in this position, ask yourself why you didn't put yourself forward to undertake that task in the beginning. Not now, after much of the groundwork has already been done by a few. But lots of people will sit back and wait to join in when others took the initiative. But how many will kick-start things off from scratch? Some people have mentioned it's not fair that decisions for humanity have been placed on a few around the world. I agree. And yet so many in this group expect or demand just 2 people to do it. Do they not? So if it's daunting for a few thousand to take on that responsibility, how do you feel those 2 people think or feel? Again, it's something overlooked, is it not? We had the case of people screaming in alt media for years because they have no voice or say in things. And yet an opportunity presents itself to change that, and people complain, oh, it's daunting. How can we do it with no money? What chance do we have? It's a case of be careful what you ask for. So which is it to be? Run with the opportunity or let things stay as they are? Humanity over eons have abused, denigrated, killed, tortured and castigated the few who would help them improve. And people wonder why nothing changes here. Because humanity hasn't changed is why. And we can all come up with excuses of boogeymen and groups as to why, but too few focus on how to counteract it. That is being mired in the victimhood mode. But victimhood people use that as another excuse to dissolve their own responsibility in overview. I can't do this because they're always coming after me, or this one's doing this, or I can't do that. We've all had shit lives in different aspects. Doesn't mean to say we have to wear it. No, you let it go and change your path. He, she and they did this, that and the other to me, but no words or descriptions of how they're going to correct that situation. It's the spinning wheel again. You never fix anything on a spinning wheel, only when you get off. Take your own responsibility for yourselves and then others. So people can go ahead and rail at me for being negative in the shows, not encouraging enough or pointing out other things I've done or not done. But you're on the spinning wheel of neglecting your own responsibility of what you haven't done. And it's all too easy to point fingers at what others have or haven't done. This is about what you have done. And that's the top and bottom line of it. I've said before, the value of this show will be lost on many until a much later date. I hope we have the time to absorb that. But currently waiting for that much later date to see the value of the show, as I understand, will not materialise. We don't have that time or luxury anymore. We really don't. And no, I will not be giving out that timeline. You've had all the information, the details, the lessons, the triggers, the reminders, the warnings, more than any other group of people. You don't need more of the same, or all repeated ad nauseum. What you do need now is how to act on it. The future is in your hands. Not mine or Kim's, your hands. And will people take an adult responsibility for that task, or stay on the hamster wheel of avoiding it? Are you human or a hamster? Are you an adult or a child? Are you a creator or a destroyer? Are you sovereign or a slave? Are you the solution or the problem? Are you pro-life or death? Do you want a future or not? Will this version of human exist or not? All of those questions are in your hands to face up to now, in a much shorter span of time than you all think. Don't believe me? Fine, watch it all unfold. But don't say you were not warned. Because unlike the previous civilization here prior to the flood, you were warned multiple times, and many ignored it or played the hamster. You're not failing me with no actions. You are failing yourself. You can blame me all you like, but you are espousing your own inability to take your own responsibility in life and act. The list in the op-ed earlier of what people complain about, yet it shows how we facilitate it. It applies to us all, me included. And only when you think and act differently will those issues go away. Thinking and acting different means we have to change what we did previously and failed. Repeating that thinking and acting will lead to the same failure humanity has had for millennia, and you all know how that has turned out. This time there is a definitive and unpleasant end for our inactions. No more loops, cheats, teachers anymore. This is it. Choice is yours, not mine. It always was. So those who reacted to the end headline without thinking deeper, again, it is a repeated problem. Do you just accept that only the few will make it? Question. How many of you have used your creative abilities to manifest a different result? How many of you even thought of doing that? And therein lies the issue. Many reacted of, we're all going to die, headline, and never thought, what if I can change that? Humanity just accepts the stark reality of dire situations and accepts the victimhood mentality all too easily. And the challenge you all face is, which side of you wins through? The dark, the fake light, or the real light? We all have fears, but is it helpful that you pass on your own fears onto others who also have their own fears? Try to work through those fears yourself, and if struggling, this group can help you. But projecting them helps no one. Is this task of rebuilding the world daunting? Absolutely. But what is more daunting is not having an opportunity, is it not? Many of our ancestors and modern day people have sold humanity down the river of pain. What we are doing now is buying it back in terms of our energy, which will be in the form of your own life force energy, and also its substitute, money. Which comes first is not a chicken and egg situation. Your effort supersedes any substitute. Don't believe that? How did the ancestors before us survive with no money? They teamed together as a family and all chipped in. And this is what we're trying to replicate. We're going back to the basics. So much of what modern life has destroyed. All of those decisions are yours only to make, and that frightens many people who have lived through their lives having to rely on others making decisions for them, dictating their lives, who and what you are. This is now an opportunity for you to thrive. You to make your decisions, and you to face your own challenges and hurdles. You to become the creator of your own reality. A chance for you to be sovereign. And you to be a part of something that goes beyond extraordinary. A chance for your light to shine like it was always meant to be. You or I will not do that, replicating old behaviours and programming. Learn to let it go. It will not only benefit you, but all those around you. The final piece tonight is another quote from one of the members. Get a grip. Sovereignty is what we want. Spiritual growth, love and integrity. We die alone. I'm not in this for self. I'm tired of hate. Community and service is what we are working on. Either you're for the potential of humans to have spiritual growth or not. Pick a side. I'd rather this be my last time here on this planet. Round and round we go in an endless loop. We learn to love each other with no preconceived ideas for each other's talents of being honourable, honest and caring. Don't bring your ego here. We either succeed or fail. Let each of us work together to make it possible for the next generation to go forward. Please, please think. Division is what got us to this point. This has been the Truth, Honour and Integrity Show. My name's Thomas Williams. Bye for now.